Thank you. Hello and welcome again to this session from the Nest Climate Campus here at New York Climate Week 2025. Here we're going to look at and discuss the role of professional service providers as enablers of the transition to a net zero world and the challenges and opportunities that come along with that. Companies in the professional services sector, like technical and management consultancies, advertising, lobby firms, usually have a relatively small emissions in their supply chain. However, their biggest climate impact lies downstream. These are long words like downstream and upstream and things like that. I'm sure I guess you're going to get it. So the climate impact lies downstream in the influence these firms have over the customers they work with and the projects that they choose. Therefore, it's crucial that these companies can align and rebalance their customer and project portfolio with a 1.5 degree centigrade ambition to advance not just climate goals, but system transformation across industries. Okay, let's, yeah. Together with some of our key partners from this sector, we'll discuss the key challenges. The Exponential Roadmap Initiative is leading this and supported by We Don't Have Time. And we're going to also talk about opportunities for business and integrating climate into their strategies. And we'll also share the latest progress in aligning professional service providers' portfolios with net zero. So let's have a look at our panelists. You're the experts. You're going to explain all this. I'm just going to prompt you a little bit here and there to talk. So we have Sarah Lindstrand, Director of Sustainability at AFRY, which is an award-winning engineering consultancy firm. We have Anna Riot. Riot. Okay, good. I love mangling the Nordic. The British are very good at this. We all think we own the language. Yeah? Riot. Yes. Nordic Chief Impact Officer at Ernst & Young and one of the largest professional services companies globally. And Camilla Hislop, researcher, with Oxford Net Zero. And that's a research initiative at the well-known Oxford University, or University of Oxford. And last but not least, Katarina Wangler-Bjork. Thank you. There's a very famous pop singer called Bjork, isn't it? That's not you, is it?
Yes, it's my biggest sister.
Okay. You're Chief Impact Officer at the Exponential Roadmap Initiative. And we know that's a collaborative climate initiative and an accredited partner of the UN Race to Zero campaign. Okay. So we have 30 minutes. And let me ask you, Camilla, to maybe set the scene by explaining why does this matter and what is happening with the current landscape?
Thanks, Nick. Sure. So I was at a panel earlier this week and someone said that net zero is a team sport. So I think what we're thinking about here is what is the role on our team of professional services providers? And in the way that we currently think about it in our standards and our guidelines, it's a relatively small role. And that's because the way that kind of scopes 1, 2, and 3 work and the way that we've set it out, it means that the advice that professional services firms give isn't included, which means that really when they're thinking about what their impact is, it's just their operational emissions. These are important. I would have loved it when I was a baby lawyer if I could have printed less files in the name of decreasing emissions, but they're really small, right? So professional services firms in the UK where I'm based made up, I mean, the stat can be challenged, but about 10% of the UK GDP. And that's quite a big role. So we really want to use them on our team to get to net zero. And the way that we should think about doing that is what advice are they giving? Because the advice that they give either is going to increase or decrease emissions. And that's really what we're thinking about with service emissions is if you are taking credit for the advice that you give, and that credit could be that you're getting paid or it's on your website to kind of show how good you are, then you also need to take responsibility for those emissions. This is still relatively new. It's kind of following on from financed emissions that came in about 5 years ago. This has been in the works, certainly with Oxford Net Zero, for about 2 years. We released some principles last year in September, but it's still relatively new, but there are some people who are really have gotten on board, and I'm looking forward to hearing from the rest of the panel about it.
Okay, all right. Katarina, can you tell us about the work that ERI is doing to advance this topic?
Yes, I can. So we launched a strategic tool last year at New York Climate Week together with AFRY and Oxford. And also we've been part of this Race to Zero group to just evolve on this topic and see what can be done. And what we looked at was how can we create a tool that embeds the actual business for professional services? How can they move the actual business model, if you will, to become a bit more 1.5 degrees aligned? So that was our ambition with the tool, and we developed a matrix, which is a matrix as you can see it. So on the y-axis, you have the client portfolio, where we would assess the different clients on if they're like professional services clients, so what professional services actually deliver in terms of value often. If they're aligned with, or if they even are a sort of climate solutions, really ambitious, or if they might be a fossil provider to be really on the bottom. And then on the other axis, x-axis, we rank the actual engagement, the project that is the core, the meat of professional services business. And also there, try to separate them in 4 criteria, just to see how aligned are them with 1.5, or on the opposite, might contribute to increased emissions. And why do we do that? Or why did we develop this? Because we see that there's huge influence in these firms on the large corporates, but also on finance sector. So to have a tool that could help the firms assess where they are and set strategic goals, where do we want to go? How can we become a climate leader? And also to do that, attract more clients that also want to be in that space. So yeah, that's where it all started.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So turning to our other guests then, so let's hear about key challenges, but also opportunities in aligning PSP portfolios. It's a new acronym that we all have now. PSP portfolios with net zero. Sarah, could you briefly share AFRY's experience in advancing this transformation, and what has worked well and what has been challenging?
Yes, of course. And I must say, I'm really excited to be here, also with EY, kind of representing 2 different angles from the professional services sphere. So we're an engineering company, AFRY. So I'm backed by 18,000 engineers who are really providing engineering knowledge and design in the energy sector, in the industrial sector, and in the built environment. So it's a lot of things we can do to really support the green transition. And coming back to the topic becoming more alive now, that is true. I'm really happy it's being spoken about, because from our point of view, we've been promoting this for many years. We know that by far the biggest opportunity and potential we have on the sustainability transition is through the projects we provide. Our own value chain emissions are fairly low compared to an industrial company, for instance. So yeah, last year we started off by launching the professional services matrix together with the ERI. We had conducted a pilot on our own portfolio to really understand how is the distribution of the net sales from the projects that we conduct over a year. We conduct over 120,000 projects annually. We have 18,000 clients that we serve. So it's quite a big challenge to map out that in this amazing matrix that we love. It's very intuitive. It tells the story of where we are and where we want to go, but then actually measuring and populating that matrix, it is a challenge. So we started off with the top 100 clients. That was, manageable. What we're doing now is to really scale the methodology and refine it, so we're actually able to capture all of those projects and the many clients that we serve. I would say the main challenge relates to, the diversity of the clients that we work with. It could be anything from, large corporations to the public sector to your local condominium association where you live. So it's a very diverse range of different clients, and then applying these principles to them is challenging, because it's one thing looking at a big corporation. We have, fairly advanced ways of viewing them, but then looking at a public entity, what does that look like? How do we know if they would be then 1.5 aligned or not? So that would be one of the challenges we're dealing with. And then more on the project axis, it's we have a lot of data to go with, but still aligning the methodology with something that is actually science-backed. So agreeing on what do we view as a climate solution? What do we view as an solution that might accelerate climate emissions instead? So those are the challenges that we've been dealing with, but we're eager to have this done.
Are you literally, if somebody, let's imagine somebody comes to you, says, we want your advice to build a building here. And you go, okay, fine. Obviously, we can give lots of advice and it's going to look really nice and whatever. But we could also make it quite climate, friendly as well. And they go, oh, okay, well, what are you recommending, right? And so you can then make some recommendations about that. Or can you tap into the global solutions on buildings, or I don't know. But is it just like, is it encouraging them to adopt more climate friendly building codes and activities and kits and heating pumps, and I don't know what goes on when these conversations start happening, right?
Yeah, and I would say it depends on the market. Some clients are fairly advanced, so they know what they want. They know how to integrate the criteria in the bid phase already.
Right.
But then many clients would come to us because we have the knowledge on, this would be a feasible solution for this specific type of project. And we always aim at integrating those perspectives and actually implementing the solutions we know exist. And I think that's been an echo this whole week and last year. The solutions exist. We need to really make sure to massively scale and deploy them. And that's where we tap in to really have them as part of the project.
Let's come back on this in a moment because it's fascinating. And let me go now to Anna. It's a similar question. How is EI, Ernst & Young? It's always EY now. You don't say Ernst & Young.
Say EY,
Oh, in our hotel right now, we've got a sky picture of New York City from the air on a big street, and you've got all the lights. It's night, and then you've got Ernst & Young written down in it. So that's it's hard to escape it sometimes. It's like British Telecom, right? Most British people still go British Telecom, but it's BT these days, But okay, EI, not AI, but EI. How is AI addressing the emissions coming from the services you provide, and what has worked and what has been difficult? Yeah.
So first, I want to say, and I think all of us agree that we have as an advisor, an extremely important role.
Yeah.
And looking at EY, we have around 400,000 employees, and we work with many of the world's all companies in all industries, cross service lines. And just looking at that, we give advice into tax and law, into assurance, into management consultant, regular advice, and to M&A, all industries. So I think the biggest impact we can do right now is to make sure not only that we give the right advice in all these areas when it comes to sustainability, but really, as you said before, like looking at all the other projects we're doing. How can we really apply an impact lens and looking at decarbonization, circular economy in everything we do? So I think that's one thing that we are now trying to implement to get that into each and every one of the projects. Another part is really talking about opportunity and challenges. One of the largest challenges I see from our clients right now is that the problems, the challenges they face are so complex, so they can't just solve them themselves. They need to work with the entire ecosystem. They need to break silos, work with the sector, work with other sectors within the industry, work with policy makers, influence politicians. And I think there EY has a really, really important role to play, because we can bring these stakeholders together to sit with one table and talk about how can we actually make a difference in the ecosystem, what is missing, who's not at the table, if we want to accelerate change. So I think for them, that's the biggest challenge. For us, of course, as an advisor, that's our biggest opportunity to be that provider or an architect of a new era that is focusing on decarbonization and circular new business models.
So I suppose, but you're more in the world of carrots than sticks, aren't you? I mean, in other words, you can't force them to do it, but
No.
you can encourage them, or that's why I say you're more in carrots and sticks, because carrots are sort of
Yeah, but I
attractive things
think
to.
the beauty of working in the impact space and with sustainability is that like 10, 15 years ago, everybody did a lot of pledges. There were a lot of big words.
Yeah.
Now, 15 years later, we can actually, and we have proof that it is business sense.
Yes.
That the climate smart is cost smart. That if you want to have a reliable supply chain, you need to think about circular economy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the risk of your business is brutal. So I think it's easier actually now to argue and give advice and look at the bottom line and the increased potential profit and revenue than it was before.
Okay, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. So Katarina, Exponential Roadmap Initiative is working to scale the integration of climate-aligned decision-making in this public sector. PSP, I need to go back and just read it again. What is PSP?
Professional services
provider.
providers.
Okay. It's
So
such a new
management
acronym for me.
consultants, advertising firms,
Absolutely.
legal firms,
Absolutely.
all the
So
ones working with
you're
advice.
working to the integration of climate-aligned decision-making in this sector.
Yeah.
And can you share one highlight and maybe one pain point, one hard thing about this whole process?
Yeah, I mean, and highlight is very much in the influence of these firms that is enormous, and that and it's been a pleasure to work with you at AFRY and having conversations with others such as EY, because there's an ambition and that many firms already deliver on that. And there's so many brilliant people. So it's just so beautiful to be with these firms and with Oxford. So that is, I mean, that's highlights in the initiative that we do. There's a lot of ambition, there's so much competence, and when we bring it together, it grows, and the solution, we really co-create this solution because it's done while applied, and it's developed while applied. Going back to you, it's really difficult. It's been difficult manual work much, and now we look at how can we scale this and how can we get others on board. What do we need to do? And some things is to make sure that the criteria that we use, the lens that we use when we look at companies and projects is it's data-based, is science aligned as much as possible, but also feasible to do an assessment of. And that goes down to what data is available, how accurate is that data, how can we access it, and also how can we automate the processes. So that is, I mean, both the challenge and the beauty of it. Lots of competence, lots of data. We work with AI, of course, to enable this, to make it much easier to make a good enough customer journey for PSPs to join in.
So, I mean, we've got a little bit more time left, so let's just explore a little bit more here. So how does one then embed this in the ecosystem? How does one, I don't know, does one talk to science-based targets and say, could you help, kind of sensitize more of your members to this potential? How does one elevate it up from what is obviously, you're starting, it's an early thing, but it's really potentially very impactful in terms of climate action. And many of those companies that you work with, of course, probably have some kind of targets on climate change anyway. So they need the extra advice to actually elevate their, but how do you make it bigger, right? Yeah.
So we did recently a research that showed that companies that embed sustainability within their business strategy, within their DNA of the company, have a 40% more positive one-year outlook. So it's very clear that what we're trying to do is making sure that sustainability or decarbonization or circular economy is not a side project. It needs to be truly integrated into the business strategy. So how to elevate it? It's really trying to influence and impact the CEO of and the boards of a company to make sure they understand both how they can become more efficient, how they can future-proof their business, how they can tackle all this challenging while actually performing better. And for us, we have two different from the impact initiative that we are running. We focus on two different kind of companies. One is the companies that has as a business idea to solve some of the global challenges. And for them, it's just helping them scale because that's an issue, and getting more capital into these kind of businesses. The other part are the companies that have very concrete targets and how to help their management and the company to actually achieve those target. What can we do more? So that's what we focus on right now, very much.
Very interesting. I mean, yes, please.
I can just tap in on that also. On elevation, I think this is important. It's important to spread the message, to have other actors on board, to also align on, could we agree on common principles on how to approach this? Because we all know it's important for us to not only have the integration, but to be able to map out the portfolio and know that we're moving in the right direction over time. So I think that's really key. So a call to action to other similar companies to also join in, and let's sit around the table and define what we mean by this. But then on the, I would say, internal elevation, this has been a really good and intuitive tool for us to really showcase what we mean by, we're going to capitalize on the sustainability and transition as a company. We want to be part of the solution and also, future-proof our business. So it's a really good and intuitive way to showcase that. So anchoring it internally, but then also integrating into, our strategy work, our risk work, because it's also about saying no to certain things. And most importantly, with the business. So, our business leaders know where are we moving and why are we doing it? And could we agree on what we view as, a 5-year roadmap on where this specific business unit should be, for instance. So it's both internally, but I would say the external part is maybe where we need more similar actors to also be part of the conversation.
But you're all connected often with large professional organizations, professional associations in your own countries or regions. I mean, there's the Green Building Council, for example. I mean, these organizations could be more involved in this strategy, right? By, I'm even thinking of what do you do with the small and medium-sized enterprises, right? Where they may have one accountant that looks after the books. How do they get to know that small business could be a little bit greened, right? With the right kind of choices and recommendations and advice, It's a big story, right? It's a massive, and that we haven't even touched on what happens in Africa and companies there, and Asia, Pacific, Latin America. Is this really at the moment more a European phenomenon that you're using your skills as to advise your supply chains, or no, people that you advise anyway? It's more a European thing right now, or how do we bring it to the whole world?
I associate that question to what is going on. Are corporates pushing back? And what we see, no, they don't. Those who are ambitious, they keep steering the course. They invest even more in the ambitions of staying relevant for the net zero economy, which is, I think, a good advice to do. And with this specific discussion, yes, we hope to spread it outside of Europe and work with global firms. We have mainly European companies or firms in our hub, where we collaborate with different angles, different verticals with Oxford Net Zero, and establishing a hub in a few weeks on this topic and how it looks in different verticals. So that is one part. How can we collaborate and spread that this is actually something worth doing, but also there's a strategic advantage in doing that, and also aligning on how we measure and how we might have comparability in our assessments and strategic goals. So that is much what we are looking at Exponential Roadmap. How can we come there? How can this be one of the coming standards in this work? And what we do then is also not only inviting several professional services firms to our work, which I would love to do. Anyone wants to join in our collaboration, please come, sit around the table, develop this tool. But also to work with corporates and investors, because they're also have the same, I mean, both the same opportunity, but also are part of the value chain in this. So how do you procure as a corporate? What kind of services providers do you procure from? What are the requirements that you might want to ask when you ask for service with AFRY, EY, or other firms? So that is something that we're working on.
Do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I agree that one thing we're really thinking about is how we can get clients to really push for this as well, because that will really help PSPs pick up on it. The other way that we're thinking about it is how we can get this into standards. So right now we're obviously seeing kind of the creation of like a net zero standard, for example, and this has been done by the International Standard Organization, and then that really gets rolled out across the globe. So what we really need is to have one big happy standards family in which we include service emissions in that, and then that makes it much more applicable across the globe.
Yes, because at the moment service emissions are not included, right? So but you have the banks are included, aren't they? When you talk about investors, banks, they have to take care of their supply chain a bit in terms of emissions. So yeah, okay. Of course, not wanting to over-regulate everybody, because then they go to suffocate in, you know, red tape and this kind of thing. Belém, Brazil, would EI be there with service providers and your?
We will absolutely be there.
Yeah.
We are a global firm, and we think for us and for our clients, the question around climate change, decarbonization it's absolutely critical. So we are going to be there. And also to your question before, I think since we are globally working in all different places, I think we shouldn't forget that there are progress everywhere, and that we need to be more open to see where are the best cases, where are the progress made, how can we copy that, how can we scale that, how can we learn from each other. Then having that said, I think Europe and particularly the Nordics have a huge opportunity now to take the leading hat or position when it comes to leadership and driving sustainability, decarbonization, and being more competitive. And that's what I feel right now. And also when I'm here, that a lot of Nordic companies are actually stepping up and double up on their sustainability efforts.
Yeah.
Yes, and I can just echo that. We will also be there with our partners and our clients, and to really promote what you were just saying. In the Nordics, we have the innovations, we have the solutions, and to really, you know, make that a success story and an export opportunity for our economy.
No, it'd be good though in Belém to actually, you know, see companies from Brazil and engaging with them on this, because I'm sure some know, but I'm sure a lot don't. And that would be really fascinating. Okay, we've come to the end of the show. We're right at the end. We're at past. Thank you very much for being with us. It was a very interesting new strategy with business, and nice to hear about it. And best of luck with your work.